Greetings, everyone. We all like a good story. So, here's a story on this Thursday evening that is much different than what we'll find on TV at this time. And this is a story of the wizard and the fool. It was a beautiful summer night outside the city of Istanbul. An old wizard who dwelled outside the city limits was up to his usual antics, mumbling archaic tones while scribbling frantically in his journal. This is a sight to see when one looks toward the Sea of Marmara, watching the fires outside the wizard's home dance about as if reenacting a scene from an ancient time. The townsfolk gather and watch as if forbidden tales are being told from an alchemist's journey. As the wizardry continues, a quite foolish fellow journeyed up to the wizard's lair, talking to himself drunkenly, disheveled with his genitals exposed. The wizard yells, "Quiet yourself! There's work of great importance taking place. I told you, stop coming up here bothering me with your shenanigans." The fool laughs uncontrollably, telling the wizard his work is immoral, hence why he has come to keep the wizard company. The wizard yells, "I don't want your company, so leave." The fool began to untie his pants and squatted, quite unpleasantly relieving himself near the fire pit the wizard had constructed that was cooking his evening meal. This utterly disgusted the wizard, and fury arose within him to the point where he started to murmur an incantation to send this foolish man to a realm not suited for humans. As the wizard began, the fool interrupted with quite a bit of clarity, might I add, saying, "There's no need to do that. I will leave willingly and never come back if you would entertain a wager." The wizard reluctantly said, "Continue on." The fool proposed a contest, and this contest was a race of who could make it to the opposite side of the city by dawn. If the wizard wins, then the fool will not venture up to his home and bother him any longer. But if the fool wins, the wizard has to proclaim the fool to be a wizard that is even greater than he. The wizard was quite taken back by the utter audacity of this creature in the form of a human, but he accepted, because it would mean to get rid of him forever. As the contest commenced, the fool started drunkenly and quite dangerously staggering down the hill in the direction of the finish line, while the wizard went into his home searching for his most ancient and powerful tome. This tome is one spoke of in riddles and sacred orders who pledged to keep its secrets away from the outside world. The wizard, upon finding it, blew years of dust off, unlocked it with a strange-looking key, and threw the book in the air, and it landed on his desk at the precise page needed. This spell was one of transportation and manifestation. It was quite a long spell and would take up to the very moment of dawn, but if said expeditiously, the wizard would be instantly transported to the finish line. He then began to speak with such vigor that his voice could be heard blocks away. While this was taking place, the fool had made it quite unexpectedly into the town square, where he walked, or let's say staggered, into the establishments who sold spirits, and began to ingest them, making him even more insatiable. Not sure how exactly, but the fool has lost his pants completely, found himself in a few fights, slapped by a few women, and indulged in acts of vagrancy which I'm sure a warrant will be issued in the morning. As all of this was taking place, the fool was making his way to the finish line, step by ever long step, every movement attempting to acquire a bit of equilibrium to the next. He steadily moved forward. As he continually moved forward, he looked back at times at the lair of the wizard, hearing his voice traveling, bringing with it gusts of wind that pushed the fool in strange directions, even once making him lose his balance as he tumbled down quite a few steps. Upon awakening, to the fool's amazement, he was surrounded by the townsfolk, laughing and pointing fingers, calling him a drunkard and silly, and stating to him, Don't you have a contest to win? Look, fool, you almost lost it by sleeping there. The finish line's only a few steps from where you were passed out in your own vomit. To even the fool's amazement, he walked about a dozen steps forward to find himself crossing the finish line. He looked around, expecting to see the wizard there, but he wasn't. The wizard didn't make it. The fool actually won. Just as you do, the townsfolk love a good tale. They followed the fool up to the lair of the wizard and explained that indeed it is true. The fool made it across the finish line before dawn with a few minutes to spare, and as we just confirmed, you are still here murmuring your enchantments. The wizard was absolutely taken back, disgusted and quite confused by what has taken place, as he grudgingly declared the fool a greater wizard than he. But then the wizard started laughing uncontrollably as a young girl asked, "Why are you laughing, sir?" He stated, with all of my wizardry, books and connections to energies you couldn't even perceive, I forgot one of the most important lessons of all. What is that? The young girl asked. The wizard stated, that would be putting forth actual action to achieve one's goals. Spiritual prowess is fantastic, but it is nothing without the key actions to that which would bring it forth from the night into the day. So this is a little story for those out there. I get a lot of calls on a daily basis, and many of those calls are of a spiritual nature, and people want to do all types of magic and all types of other strange things that deal with either religious acts or occult symbology, and none of it has action behind it, and they're wondering why it doesn't work. So in this story here, even though the wizard was one of magnificence, he knew all types of ancient and arcane information. The fool, not knowing any of that, put forth action without the knowing of any of that, and he ended up winning. Action will rule over sitting still any day of the week. Take care.